The Eid holidays have always been a little confusing for me to spend. It's not like I have a clear tradition to follow, like a lot of people I know. Some of my friends have that typical pulang kampung experience where they would go back to their parents' hometowns, meet all their relatives, and enjoy a lively celebration. But for me, it's not that simple. I come from a dad who is from the city and a mom whose hometown is almost 3 hours away by plane. Growing up, I never had a proper kampung to go back to. My dad was from Surabaya, and my mom, even though she was originally from Manado, didn't really have a reason to go back there anymore. The budget was obviously one thing, since plane tickets aren't cheap, but the bigger reason was that her childhood home in Manado was already gone. It didn't exist anymore. My grandma, or Oma as we call her, had long left Manado and had been living in Surabaya for years. So technically, neither of my parents really had a kampung to call home either, which made me realize we weren't the type of family who would get excited to book tickets, pay boxes of souvenir, and travel back to some nostalgic hometown every year. For us, Eid was usually spent right when we already were, and because of that, we didn't really have a yearly tradition. Sometimes we would just go to the mall, grab some food, and treat the holiday like it was just an extra long Sunday. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything special either. Back when my dad was still around, Eid has a little more structure. We would usually spend the day visiting his side of the family. His extended relatives mostly live around Surabaya too, sometimes just an hour or two away by car, so it was still manageable. It was mostly driving from house to house, eating different versions of opor ayam at each stop, and making small talk with cousins we didn't know that well. It wasn't super festive or emotional like in the movies, but it was still something. After my dad passed away, things changed. Naturally, the connection to his distant relatives started to fade. They didn't reach out, and to be honest, neither did we. It just felt a little awkward to maintain those relationships when the person who connects us all wasn't there anymore. So that for the past few Eids, we were honestly a bit lost. We didn't know what to do, where to go, or how to even spend the holidays properly. But of course, we weren't just going to sit around the house all day feeling sorry for ourselves. This year, we decided to plan a little escape trip. Nothing too crazy, just a simple day trip somewhere nearby. Since Malang is only about an hour's drive from Surabaya, we figured it was the perfect choice. Close enough to be convenient, far enough to feel like a real holiday. We planned to leave early in the morning, especially because we had one important stop to make before starting our little adventure, visiting my dad's and my grandpa's grave. It felt right to start the day there to pay our respect before we went off to have fun. So we woke up earlier than usual, got dressed up quickly, and headed out. The cemetery visit was quiet and simple. We bought flowers, cleaned up the graves a little, and said our prayers. I'm glad we kept that tradition alive, even if everything else about Eid had changed over the years. It was a part it was a way to feel connected to them, even if it's just for a moment. After that, it was time for the fun part. We hopped back into the car and made our way towards Malang. The drive was easy, with the kind of light traffic you only get during Eid holidays. The scenery slowly changed the closer we got to Malang. The air got cooler and the vibe shifted into something a little more relaxed compared to the busy energy of Surabaya. Since my dad's sister lived in Batu, we were already quite familiar with the area. Batu was like our family's second home for quick getaways. But weirdly enough, despite how often we went to Batu, we barely ever explored Malang itself. It always felt like we skipped right past it. This time, we decided it was time to properly see what Malang has to offer. I had heard about a place called Kayu Tangan. People said it was a nice spot to walk around, enjoy some cute cafes, and take some good pictures. It sounded like a perfect place for a casual day trip. So, we set our GPS to Kayu Tangan and headed there straight away. We arrived at Kayu Tangan around 11 a.m. The moment we got there, I immediately thought it reminded me of Jalan Tunjungan in Surabaya, only wider and less crowded. The streets were broader, the sidewalks were cleaner, and most importantly, the air was way cooler. Malang's highland climate made a huge difference. Walking outside in Surabaya at 11 a.m. usually feels like stepping into an oven, but in Malang, there was a nice cool breeze that made everything so much more enjoyable. They had small villages areas where you could walk around and take photos. Colorful murals, tiny alleys with flower pots, old style buildings, and it was charming without trying too hard. We decided to take a walk around one of the villages for a bit. It was fun at first, but my mom felt a little shy about wandering around people's homes, so we kept the exploration short and returned to the main street. We spent most of our time visiting the cute cafes lining in the street. Each one had its own unique theme. Some were vintage, some were minimalist, some were filled with quirky decoration. We hopped from one cafe to another, grabbing drinks, taking pictures, and just soaking in the atmosphere. At one cafe, they sold local art stickers, keychain, and handmade craft. I couldn't resist buying a few things. That day also happened to be my little sister's birthday. She just turned 5 and I wanted to get her a small present. While browsing through the handmade craft, I found a super cute black cat keychain plushie. It was soft, colorful, and looked perfect for a 5-year-old. It also reminded us of our cat back at home. I met her I made her bring the plushie to the counter herself and paid for it. Her face lit up when the staff handed it to her with the plastic bag. That shy smile she does when she's really happy but too shy to say anything. After a few more hours of walking, shopping, and cafe hopping, we grabbed a treat before heading home. A Singaporean-style ice cream sandwich from a street vendor. They sliced a block of rainbow ice cream and wrapped it with a piece of white bread. It was simple but so good. The kind of snack that made me feel like a kid again. We decided to wrap up the trip after that. The sun was starting to set, and even though it was only a 1-day trip, it felt like we had experienced so much. That's the beauty of short trips. You get all the fun of a holiday without the stress packing, planning, or staying overnight somewhere unfamiliar. Plus, nothing beats ending a long, happy day by going straight back to your own bed. As I sat there, reflecting on the day, I realized something important. Sometimes, the most memorable holidays aren't the grand celebration or the ones filled with elaborate tradition. It's the quiet moments, the simple joys, and the unexpected little pleasures that truly made a holiday special. It wasn't a big family reunion or a trip to some iconic destination that made the day meaningful. It was the time spent together, the connection we shared as a family, and the way we found joy in the ordinary. When we got home, we were tired but satisfied. My sister kept clutching on her new cat plushie. My mom was busy looking at all the photos we took, and I just sat there thinking how nice the day had turned out. It wasn't anything huge. We didn't go to a famous tourist destination, didn't spend a ton of money, didn't do anything Instagram worthy, but it was still special. It was a day that felt full of good food, laughter, tiny adventures, and small surprises. Maybe we don't have a kampung to go back to. Maybe we don't have a big family gathering with dozens of cousins, but we still have each other, and somehow that's enough to make any place feel like home.